Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're going to try to wrap our heads around something that's both fascinating and a little intimidating. Quantum computing. It's
Yeah,
one of those things that has the potential to completely change the world as we know it.
that's right. And it all starts with understanding that quantum computing isn't just about faster computers. It's about harnessing the principles of quantum mechanics to process information in a completely different way.
Okay, so let's break that down a bit. For those of us who don't spend our days thinking about quantum mechanics, what does that actually mean? What's the big deal here?
Imagine you have a coin. In the classical world, it can be heads or tails. But in the quantum world, that coin can be both heads and tails at the same time. That's called superposition. And
Yeah.
it's one of the key principles that makes quantum computing so powerful.
Hold on, both heads and tails at the same time. It's like magic. How does that even work?
Um, it is a bit mind-bending, I'll grant you that. Think of it this way. The bits in our regular computers can only be either a 0 or a 1. But in a quantum computer, the basic unit of information is a qubit, which can be 0, 1, or both at the same time. It's as if the qubit can explore many possibilities simultaneously, giving quantum computers the potential to perform calculations in parallel at a scale we've never seen before.
So if our regular computers are like a single lane road, quantum computers are like a massive superhighway.
That's a great way to put it. And this parallel processing power opens up the possibility of tackling problems that are simply impossible for even the most powerful supercomputers we have today.
Now that's exciting.
Yeah,
But I imagine building a quantum computer is no walk in the park, right?
you're absolutely right. One of the biggest challenges is that qubits are incredibly sensitive to noise and errors. Remember how I mentioned superposition? Well, maintaining that delicate state is extremely difficult. Even the slightest disturbance can cause a qubit to decohere, losing its quantum properties and leading to errors in the computation.
So it's like trying to balance a spinning plate on a stick. One wrong move, and the whole thing comes crashing down.
Precisely. Early quantum computers were so sensitive that researchers had to go to extraordinary lengths to isolate them from any kind of interference. They had to be kept at ultra-low temperatures, shielded from electromagnetic fields, and even the slightest vibrations could disrupt the qubits. I read somewhere that some labs even had to ban talking in the room while the quantum computer was running.
Wow, that's some serious dedication to science. But all that effort is paying off, right?
Yeah.
Where are we now in terms of building practical quantum computers?
We're seeing some major breakthroughs, and one of the most exciting developments has come from Google. They recently unveiled their new Willow chip, a 105 qubit processor that has achieved some remarkable results.
Willow. I'm intrigued. Tell me more about it.
Well, Willow is significant for a couple of reasons. First, it's one of the first demonstrations of real-time error correction in a superconducting quantum system. Remember how we talked about qubits being prone to errors? Well, Willow has shown that it can actually reduce errors as more qubits are added.
Wait a minute. So adding more qubits actually makes it more reliable. That seems counterintuitive.
It does, doesn't it?
Hmm?
For a long time, one of the biggest challenges in quantum computing was that adding more qubits actually made the system more error-prone. But Willow has achieved what's called below threshold, which means that the error rate drops exponentially as the number of qubits increases.
Okay, so that's one breakthrough. What's the other big deal with Willow?
Speed. Willow completed a task called random circuit sampling in under 5 minutes. To put that into perspective, a classical supercomputer would take an estimated 10 septillion years to perform the same calculation.
10 septillion years. That's longer than the universe has existed. I can't even wrap my head around that.
It's mind-boggling, isn't it? In this particular calculation, random circuit sampling is considered to be one of the hardest tasks for classical computers. It involves generating random quantum circuits and then simulating their output, which requires an immense amount of computational power.
So does this mean quantum computers are ready to take over the world? Are we on the verge of a quantum revolution?
Hold your horses. While Willow's achievements are incredibly impressive, they don't mean we'll have quantum computers solving all of the world's problems tomorrow. There's still a lot of work to be done.
Okay, so tempering expectations. What are the next steps? What still needs to happen before quantum computers become truly practical?
One of the key challenges is developing quantum algorithms that can actually harness the power of these machines to solve real-world problems. It's like having a powerful sports car but not knowing how to drive it.
Algorithms. Those are the sets of instructions that tell the computer what to do, right?
Exactly. And developing algorithms for quantum computers is a whole new ballgame. It requires a different way of thinking and a deep understanding of quantum mechanics. While there has been some progress in this area, we still need more breakthroughs in quantum algorithm design before we can unlock the full potential of these machines.
So while the hype is exciting, we need to be patient. It sounds like we're still in the early stages of this quantum revolution.
That's a fair assessment, but even though practical applications are still on the horizon, it's crucial to start thinking about the potential impact of quantum computing on different aspects of society.
That's a great point, and that's exactly what we'll be diving into next. Get ready for a deep dive into how quantum computing could revolutionize everything from digital security to national security and beyond.
Welcome back to the deep dive. Before we moved on, we were talking about how quantum computing is still in its early stages, but it's never too early to start thinking about the potential impacts of this technology. So let's dive into one area that you might find particularly relevant: digital security.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting for me. I mean, we all rely on encryption to protect our online data, everything from our bank accounts to our personal messages. But if quantum computers can crack codes that would take classical computers billions of years to solve, does that mean all of our online data is at risk?
That's the million-dollar question, and it's something that has cybersecurity experts all over the world scrambling for solutions. You see, the encryption methods we use today rely on mathematical problems that are very difficult for classical computers to solve. But a sufficiently powerful quantum computer could potentially crack these codes in a fraction of the time.
So it's kind of like a race against time. As quantum computers get more powerful, we need to develop stronger encryption methods to stay ahead of the game.
Precisely. It's a cybersecurity arms race, and the stakes are incredibly high. Imagine a world where hackers could easily access your bank account, steal your identity, or even shut down critical infrastructure like power grids and communication networks. The potential for chaos and disruption is immense.
That's a pretty scary thought. But surely people are working on ways to make our data quantum proof, right?
Absolutely. There's a whole field of research dedicated to developing what's called post-quantum cryptography, or quantum-resistant cryptography. These are new encryption algorithms that are designed to be resistant to attacks from both classical and quantum computers.
So it's like building a digital fortress that can withstand even the most sophisticated quantum weaponry.
That's a great analogy. And the good news is that there's been a lot of progress in this area. The National Institute of Standards and Technology, NIST in the United States, for example, has been running a competition to select new post-quantum cryptography standards, and they're expected to announce the winners soon.
That's reassuring. But even if we develop these new encryption methods, won't it take time to implement them everywhere? I mean, think about all the systems that rely on encryption. It's practically everything these days.
You're absolutely right. Transitioning to a new encryption infrastructure is a massive undertaking, and it won't happen overnight. It will require collaboration between governments, businesses, and researchers to ensure a smooth and secure transition.
So there's a lot of work to be done,
Mhm.
but at least we're aware of the problem and taking steps to address it. Now, what about national security? How could quantum computing impact that realm?
That's another area where the implications are profound. Imagine a world where nations with powerful quantum computers could break the encryption, protecting military communications, intelligence data, and financial systems. It could shift the balance of power in a significant way.
So it's not just about protecting individual data, it's about national security as well.
Exactly. Quantum computing could have a major impact on espionage, cyber warfare, and even nuclear deterrence. It's a whole new dimension of national security that we're just beginning to grapple with.
It sounds like something out of a science fiction movie, but it's becoming our reality.
Yeah.
Now, I'm curious about something else. Cryptocurrency. We talked about how encryption is vital for protecting online data, and cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin rely heavily on encryption. Does this mean that Bitcoin is doomed in a quantum future?
That's a question that's been on the minds of many crypto enthusiasts. The answer is a bit complicated. While it's true that a sufficiently powerful quantum computer could potentially break the encryption used in Bitcoin, it's not an immediate threat.
So there's still hope for Bitcoin.
For now, yes. The encryption methods used in Bitcoin, particularly the SHA-256 hash function, are still considered to be secure against attacks from current quantum computers. It would take a quantum computer with millions of qubits to pose a serious threat, and we're not there yet.
Okay, that's a relief.
Yeah.
But what happens when quantum computers reach that level of sophistication? Will Bitcoin be rendered obsolete?
It's interesting that you bring that up because Satoshi Nakamoto, the mysterious creator of Bitcoin, actually anticipated this potential threat way back in 2010.
Really? That's impressive foresight.
It is. Nakamoto proposed a contingency plan involving a blockchain fork, which is essentially a split in the blockchain to adopt a new hash function if the existing one was ever compromised by quantum computers.
So it's like an upgrade path for Bitcoin. If the old encryption becomes vulnerable, they can switch to a newer quantum-resistant version.
Exactly. It highlights the adaptability of the blockchain technology underlying Bitcoin. It's designed to be resilient and adaptable in the face of technological advancements.
That's fascinating. So even if quantum computers do eventually pose a threat to Bitcoin's current encryption, there might be ways to upgrade its security and stay ahead of the game.
Precisely. It's a constant cat and mouse game between cryptographers and those trying to break encryption. As technology advances, so too do the methods for securing and attacking it.
It's amazing to think that something like quantum computing, which still feels so futuristic, could have such a profound impact on something as established as cryptocurrency.
It speaks to the transformative power of this technology. And it's just one example of how quantum computing could reshape the world as we know it. From medicine and material science to finance and artificial intelligence, the possibilities are truly endless.
It's clear that we're just scratching the surface of what quantum computing can do, but I think we've covered a lot of ground today. Before we wrap things up, is there anything else you think our listeners should keep in mind as they contemplate this quantum future?
I think the most important thing to remember is that quantum computing is a double-edged sword. It has the potential to solve some of humanity's most pressing problems, but it also presents new challenges and risks that we need to be prepared for.
That's a great point. It's like any powerful tool. It can be used for good or for ill. It's up to us to decide how we want to wield this quantum power.
Exactly. And that's a conversation that we need to have as a society. We need to think about the ethical implications, the potential risks, and the long-term consequences of this technology. We need to ensure that this technology is developed and used responsibly and that its benefits are shared widely.
Well said. And on that note, I think it's time to wrap up our quantum deep dive for today. But before we go, I want to thank our listeners for joining us on this journey into the fascinating world of quantum computing. Welcome back to the deep dive. We've spent this episode trying to understand this mind-blowing world of quantum computing, and I have to say it's been quite a ride.
It has been a fascinating journey. We've covered a lot of ground, from the basic principles of how these quantum computers work to the potential impact they could have on everything from digital security to national security and even cryptocurrency.
It's a lot to take in, but let's try to distill some of the key takeaways for our listeners. What are the most important things you want them to remember about quantum computing?
I think the first thing to remember is that we're still in the early stages of this quantum revolution. While there have been some remarkable breakthroughs like Google's Willow chip, practical applications are still on the horizon. It's a bit like we've invented the wheel, but we haven't quite figured out how to build a car yet.
This is key.
Hmm.
But that doesn't mean we should just sit back and wait. We've talked about how quantum computing could pose significant threats to our digital security, potentially disrupt the world of cryptocurrency, and even shift the balance of power in terms of national security.
Exactly. It's crucial to start thinking about these challenges now and to invest in research and development to find solutions. For example, we need to develop and implement quantum-resistant encryption methods to protect our data, explore ways to adapt cryptocurrencies to a quantum future, and consider the geopolitical implications of quantum technology on the global stage.
It sounds like quantum computing presents both incredible opportunities and significant risks. It's a powerful tool that can be used for good or for ill, and it's up to us to decide how we want to shape this quantum future.
I completely agree. And that brings me to the most important takeaway of all: the need for open dialogue and informed decision-making. We need to have conversations as a society about the ethical implications of quantum technology, the potential risks, and the long-term consequences of our choices. We need to ensure that this technology is developed and used responsibly, and that its benefits are shared widely.
Those are some profound thoughts to ponder as we wrap up this deep dive. What are some questions our listeners might want to explore on their own as they continue to learn about this fascinating field?
Well, I think it's worth considering how quantum computing might impact other areas of society that we haven't touched on today. For example, how could it revolutionize fields like medicine, material science, or artificial intelligence? What are the potential economic implications? And how might it affect our understanding of the universe and our place within it?
Those are some great questions to ponder. And as we conclude this episode, I want to encourage our listeners to stay curious, stay informed, and stay engaged in the conversation about quantum computing. It's a journey that's just beginning, and it promises to be both challenging and incredibly rewarding.
Thank you for joining us on the deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep learning.
And remember, the future is quantum.
Thanks for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed this episode and found it valuable. If you did, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. It really helps us reach more amazing listeners like you. Thanks again for your support, and we'll catch you in the next episode. Bye for now.